Hello, Lucy and Conrad and Caleb. Spider-Man is here, and it's a good thing he is because we're going to be reading a story about him today. Not only him, but also Giant Man and the Wasp. Look at this. It's Giant Man and the Wonderful Wasp on the trail of Spider-Man. Now, what could induce these three heroes to fight each other? Well, let's find out. All right, so here we see uh, Giant Man and the Wasp in their lab, and what's going on? Uh, Giant Man says, Jan, honey, become normal size quickly. I've got a surprise for you. I think you're going to like it. Tell me, Hank, is it fur, jewelry, perfume? It's nothing as romantic as any of that. He says, I've created a new weapon for you. Right, just what every girl wants, right? A new weapon. She says, how romantic. There's a moon outside, soft breezes, and the scent of honeysuckle in the air. And what do you have for me? A weapon. Oh, well, I suppose that's what I get for teaming up with a handsome, blue-eyed adventurer instead of dating Cary Grant. Just wait till you see this weapon, little friend. I'd like to see Cary Grant dream up a device like this. If y'all don't know who Cary Grant is, he's one of the romantic movie stars of the olden days. And the Wasp says, I'd like to see Cary Grant, period. Oh, how funny. All right. Look, honey, for months you've had only your small size to help you in any tight spot. Now you're going to have something else to use in a pinch. What is this? Who needs that? Nobody goes around pinching wasps. Be serious, Jan. This is a highly potent compressed air gun. Now strap it to your arm. Make sure it fits real snug because any looseness will affect your aim. And she says, I hope nobody says, dig the crazy charm bracelet. Well, nobody will, and if they do, she can always attack them with it. And so Hank says, put your finger through that little ring. That's it. Now aim it at a target, honey. Steady now. I get it, Big Daddy. All I do is bend my finger to pull the cord which the ring is attached to, eh? Right, it will fire one continuous burst of compressed air, or short sudden ones depending on how long you hold your finger down. And notice how powerful the bursts are. My, it's something no bachelor girl should ever be without. And look, she's knocking off all these targets. Maybe that would help her against an enemy. Handle it carefully, doll, says Hank. It's very fragile. I made it of the same molecular substances as our costumes are made of, so that it will shrink when you shrink without losing any of its strength. Don't worry, Hank, says Jan. I'll give it the same tender loving care that I wish a certain blue-eyed Avenger would give to his little wasp. All right, and so they're looking out their window over this beautiful scenery of New York City. But perhaps the wasp would not be quite so flippant if she knew of the devious scheme being formulated by one of Giant Man's most dangerous enemies, the brilliant, evil Egghead. All right, you can see why he's called Egghead. His head is shaped like an egg, but it houses a brilliant brain. He's thinking, I've remained in hiding long enough. Giant Man has probably forgotten all about me by now, which means the time has come for me to strike. For months, I have worked on my own electronic impulse communicator through which I can communicate with ants almost as well as he can. I've set up my own receiving station on a nearby anthill. And now for my plan. I'll broadcast a false report to the ants, which they are sure to transmit to my arch enemy. He won't suspect the report is a trap. He'll believe his ants. And so he's fiddling with the dials, and here's his communicator on this ant hill. Let's see what he says. So the evil genius sets the stage for his master plan. While back at Giant Man's lab, a short time later, Hank says, "Quiet, Jan. An emergency alarm is coming in from my ant scouts. Although it's something I'd never have suspected. It's almost unbelievable. Urgent. Spider-Man has been sighted searching for our master. He intends to attack and defeat Giant Man." Hard to believe. Then, after relaying the startling report to his partner in peril, Henry Pym prepares for immediate action. "No time to lose, Jan. Take a shrinking capsule fast and search the city as the Wasp. Soon as you find Spider-Man, report back to me. But don't try to tackle him yourself, you hear?" "Roger, boss," answers Jan. "I'm on my way." Using the artificial antennae, which appear with her wings when she becomes wasp-sized, the fabulous flying female keeps in close touch with Giant Man. "Still no sign of him, Hank," she says. "Keep searching, Wasp," answers Giant Man, "and remember, no heroics. When you find him, I'll take over." But the Wasp thinks, "I'm dying to use my new wasp's sting." Seconds later, there he is. I found him. And there he is, swinging through the air with the greatest of ease. She thinks he swings from rooftop to rooftop like a silent, sinister ghost. He may be safely gone before Giant Man can reach the spot. I've got to slow him down. Somehow, even I can't keep up with him. I think not. He swings pretty quickly. This is the only way, and so she aims her sting at him. Oh no, in my eagerness, I made the air blast too strong. I've caught him by surprise, and I've made him lose his balance. Look, he's falling. But the amazing Spider-Man has the lightning-fast reflexes of the powerful arachnid for whom he is named. Arachnid is a scientific name for a spider. And he thinks, something hit me, sent me toppling, an unseen enemy, but I'll strike back later. First, I've got to save myself. Whoever is responsible will learn that it takes more than a sneak attack to defeat Spider-Man. I'll shoot out my web strands while I'm falling, and if I've aimed them correctly, they'll wrap themselves around that iron lamppost like this. And now I'll find out who's responsible for attacking me and make him wish he'd never heard of Spider-Man. But what if he is a she? Then the mysterious adventurer uses his amazing spider sense, only to find the Wasp, who thinks, thank heaven, he's saved himself. And Spider-Man thinks, my spider sense is receiving a tiny, almost invisible impression. I'm being attacked by someone the size of an insect. He's shooting out that web of his in my direction, and so the web goes out toward the Wasp. Hank, I'm trapped. He caught me in his web. The little fool, says Giant Man. I warned her not to tackle him alone. Keep transmitting, honey, he says to the Wasp. I'll follow your beam and be there in seconds. Instantly, becoming Giant Man, the double-sized Avenger hurls himself out of his window, seizing the specially built tension ring which hangs outside. Luckily, they're only a few blocks from here. This is the quickest way to get there. If he's harmed a hair of her head, he'll pay for it, no matter how powerful he is. And then he swings down and lands right in front of Spider-Man. Release her, Spider-Man. Let's see how brave you are against someone like me. Giant Man, I don't know what's going on here, but if it's a fight you want, you've come to the right guy. And so they attack each other without knowing what's going on. Meanwhile, watching the entire scene through a cybernetically activated viewer, we find the Egghead. He says the two of them are sure to destroy each other, never dreaming that I'm the real enemy. Triumphantly, the man called Egghead addresses an assortment of underworld characters whom he has assembled in his hidden lab. Now for phase 2 of my plan. While Giant Man is occupied with his web-slinging enemy, we have things to do. You sure got everything figured out to a T, boss, says one of his underlings. Naturally, now I want you boys to take the stations I assigned to you while I call the police. We're going to pull the crime of the century with Giant Man's help. Egghead, you're a genius, says another one of his underlings, who's so dumb he would think anybody's a genius compared to him. Hello, police headquarters, says Egghead. I'm a public-spirited citizen, and I want to report a dangerous fight. Spider-Man and Giant Man are battling in the street. You'd better send a riot squad over before some innocent bystanders get hurt. It's shameful the way those masked menaces think they can do what they please in our city. Grump, grump, grump. Meantime, Spider-Man says, big as you are, Giant Man, I'll bowl you over like a tin pin, which is like a bowling pin. And so Spider-Man swings and attacks Giant Man. I missed him, but how? Well, we know how. We can see he's taking one of his shrinking pills. He's fast, says Giant Man, but so long as I can keep changing size in time, I'll get him sooner or later. He's attacking again, now to enlarge quickly and grab him. Spider-Man says, uh-oh, the police are here. The policeman says, surround the men, then close in on the double. And Wasp thinks Spider-Man is tricky. He's faster than my double-sized dreamboat, but maybe the Wasp can slow him down. Bullseye! She shoots her sting right at his nose. Good old Hank, his wasp sting invention really works. Well, let's see what it does to Spider-Man. And the policeman says, easy boys, no shooting unless you have to. And so then Giant Man reaches out and says, didn't expect me to catch you by grabbing your web, did you? So he grabs Spider-Man's web. Correction, High Pockets, you didn't grab me, I've got you tangled in my web. And so Spider-Man grabs his own web and wraps it around Giant Man. So now Giant Man is all wrapped up, webbed up. He says, I wouldn't bet on it. And look, his strength breaks the webbing. And Spider-Man says he flexed those oversized muscles of his before my webbing could harden enough to hold him. Captain, says Giant Man, keep your men back. I'll get Spider-Man for you without anyone getting hurt. And the Wasp reports he swung back to the roof. Sure, Captain, says Spider-Man, hold off your men so they can sit back and enjoy the sight. They can watch me whittle Giant Man down to size. I'll teach that human stepladder to tangle with me. There's no place you can go that I can't follow one way or another. And so Giant Man uses his long legs to leap up to the roof. And Spider-Man says, Mister, you've got nothing going for you except size, and that's not going to do you any good against me. No, retorts Giant Man. Wait till I get my hands on you. You'll sing a different tune. But how can he get his hands on him when Spider-Man just swings away? I wonder where they're fighting of each other, asks a policeman. Beats me, but we'd better stop them. Well, we know, don't we? But nobody else knows what's going on. Send reinforcements, Chief, reports a policeman. No harm done yet, but anything can happen with Giant Man and Spider-Man slugging it out. At that moment, Egghead turns off his police band shortwave radio and he says to his underlings, "Hear that? It's just what we wanted." With the police sending every available man to the east side of town, we'll be able to move freely on the west side as planned. And one of his minions says, "It's almost like you've got those two masked clowns working for you, Egghead. Always said I could accomplish anything with my brains, and now let's get moving. The payroll truck we're after should be leaving the West Side Highway at this very moment." And then he continues, "Take your positions in the truck we hired for just this purpose. Come on, move." And then another underling says, "With a genius like Egghead leading us, this will be the robbery of the century." Sorry, Egghead is not as big a genius as they all think. "Say, boss, the further west we go, the emptier the streets become." "Naturally," answers Egghead. "It's the way I planned it. Everyone has rushed to the east side to witness the spectacle of two superheroes fighting in public. Careful now, we're coming to our destination. Keep your eyes open. You all know the penalty for a single slip up. Look, there's the armored payroll truck now, right on schedule. Fine, follow plan A, exactly as I outlined it. Wait till they reach the next corner. It's where the police have set up a blockade to keep the crowds from getting too close to Giant Man's battle. This is the spot. Pull alongside the payroll truck, nose her to the curb. That's it, now jam on your brakes." The driver of the payroll truck says, "Hey, what's going on?" "Say, Joe, look over there." Egghead," hollers one of his underlings. "The cops see us. I expected that. Just keep hauling the car into our truck with your hydraulic grappling hook. Look at this. What an idea. A big truck with a grappling hook pulling the armored truck inside. Wow, what a great way to steal money, right? Just grab the whole truck." And the driver of the truck says, "We're being pulled into that big trailer van." The policemen are saying, "They're getting away. We can't follow by car because of the traffic jam. They must have planned it this way. I wonder if Giant Man and Spider-Man were a part of the plot." "Quick," hollers another policeman, "radio headquarters. We've got to set up roadblocks." Meanwhile, high above the city, we find Giant Man, the Wasp, and Spider-Man still fighting each other. Giant Man says, "I told you you can't escape from me." "Escape?" retorts Spider-Man. "You've got it backwards, big man. I'm just getting you into position for my knockout punch." And the Wasp thinks, "I never realized Hank cared so much for me. He's never been so fighting mad before." "Okay, Giant Man," says Spider-Man, "here's where you learn what happens to anyone who tackles me without any reason." "Who are you kidding?" asks Giant Man. "We know you're about to attack us." "Hold it," says the Wasp. "What if you are both wrong?" So finally, someone begins to ask the question. Maybe they're both wrong about this fight. I think so. And so the tide is gonna turn. And at that critical moment, an alert ant senses the presence of the one who sent the original message a short time before. Underling says, "We made it, Egghead." "Shut up and keep driving." But the ant is watching. Instantly, another message is transmitted to the leader of the ant world, unsuspected by Egghead or his men. So the ants are transmitting the truth to Giant Man. Meanwhile, Egghead and the truck are pulling into the hideout. "Quick! Nobody will ever find us here." But Egghead is not counted on one thing. Giant Man says, Spider-Man, wait, my ants are contacting me. Looks like we were both deceived. The Wasp asks, what is it, Blue Eyes? I've got to take a shrinking capsule. No time to explain. Just follow me. Spider-Man says, if this is a trick of yours, it won't work. And so Giant Man and the Wasp are running away from Spider-Man. And Giant Man says, it's no trick, fella. You're welcome to follow if you can, but you'll be following Ant-Man this time. Here comes one of my flying ants in answer to my cybernetic summons. All right, so he sent out a notice to a flying ant, so he's there to carry Ant-Man along. Well, well, says Spider-Man, you're a regular bag of tricks, but where you go, I go, Buster, no matter what size you are. Be my guest, answers Ant-Man. I'm heading for the docks. Well, says Spider-Man, I may not have a flying ant to ride, but my little old web will get me there even faster. I bet that's true. And little dreaming that he's on target for two of the world's greatest superheroes, three of the world's greatest superheroes, I beg your pardon. Don't forget the Wasp. Egghead continues with his master plan. Keep the guards locked inside their truck and start unloading the loot. So intent are they on what they're doing that Egghead's men fail to notice two silent strands of webbing slowly descending. Something yanked the strongbox right out of our hands. The joint must be haunted. Not by a ghost, though. Haunted by Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man, hollers Egghead. Get him, you fools. We've come too far to be stopped now. You boys must have read enough stories and seen enough movies to know that crime doesn't pay, hollers Spider-Man. But he thinks, lucky my spider sense guided me right to the spot where this stolen strongbox was taken. So he's pulling it up. And here comes the Wasp. She says, uh-oh, even Spider-Man can't laugh off steel bullets. And as they aim their guns, they say, come down from there, or else. Oops. Oh, come on. There we go. Or else you boys will feel the Wasp sting. Is that what you mean? So she aims her sting. I guess it is. Yow! That sting really packs a wallop. But the unavoidable recoil from her powerful sting gun blast causes the lovely winged lass to lose altitude. And before she can soar to the ceiling again, Egghead reaches out his hand. Now I've got you. Wasp thinks, he's reaching for me. My only chance. Glide to the floor. There she is, under your foot, hollers Egghead. Don't let her get away. And look, this underling's shoe is about to step on Wasp. She thinks, I've only got 2 more charges left in my stinger. I'll have to make them both count. And where's your manners, big boy? It isn't polite to step on a lady. So she uses one sting to knock the guy off balance. And then here comes another fella with a rolled up newspaper to swat her. She thinks, boy, they play rough in this league. Let me have her, Egghead, says another underling. You fresh thing, we haven't even been formally introduced. So she stings him right in the face. Ah! And he falls backward. But that was my last sting charge. Now I'm a mighty worried little Wasp. Giant Man, wherever you are, don't be bashful. Show yourself. Here he comes. In the time it takes to swallow one enlarging capsule, it's Giant Man. Egghead says, how'd you get here? Wasn't easy, Egghead, says Giant Man. I ran out of subway tokens and had to wait hours for a taxi. Maybe not. But anyway, this guy says, look at the size of him. He can afford to make with the wise cracks. Look out with that pea shooter, Egghead. You might shoot us. The minions all grab Giant Man. Egghead pulls out his gun, and the fellas say, we can't hold him. He's swinging us around like yo-yos. You and your crummy plans, says another minion. So they'd finish off each other while we rob the armored truck, huh? Spider-Man realizes that's the explanation. Now they understand what was going on. It was all part of Egghead's plan. My plan still hasn't failed, he says. First I'll finish off Giant Man, and then we'll search for Spider-Man. You won't have to search far, Curly. Who's that? Well, of course, it's Spider-Man. And he jumps into the fight, shoots out his web, and pulls away Egghead's gun. First of all, give me that toy before you're hurt your tubby little self. That's body shaming. And Egghead hollers, he's here! Get him! Sorry, Egghead, your pistol-packing punks are busy at the moment. And so Giant Man grabs one in each hand and tosses them all away. We've won, thinks Wasp. It's over. But why do I still feel so hostile towards Spider-Man? I guess it's because wasps and spiders are such natural enemies. Spider-Man says, we had no reason to fight. Egghead tried to trick us, but keep the wasp away from me. She makes me see red. Honey, says Giant Man, you heard the man. He can't help it. It's his natural spider instinct. And then Egghead says, look, Giant Man, there's no need for us to be enemies. There's enough stolen loot here for all of us to divide. Oh no, do you think Giant Man will become a thief? Ha, not ever. For shame, Egghead. You know that money is the root of all evil. How about you, Spider-Man? If you beat Giant Man for me, Spider-Man says, forget it. Why don't you ask me to do something easy, like bring you Fort Knox? Okay, boys, says Giant Man, the party's over. The police should be outside by now, so start walking. And then finally, this underling says, with pleasure. Anything's better than fighting you and that web spinner and that nutty flying female. Did you hear what he called me? Says the Wasp. Don't just stand there. Do something. I am, answers Giant Man. I'm making myself normal size. Spider-Man says, well, I guess you don't need me here anymore. And Tacky Wasp says, I've got news for you, son. We never did. Spider-Man retorts, I wasn't talking to you, lady. I wouldn't waste my breath. Oh, nah. All right, they're just kind of being tacky to each other. Oh, go on back to your slimy old spiders, and good riddance. I'll take spiders over those useless flying wasps any day. Well, I've had enough of this little tacky argument. And finally, Spider-Man leaves, and Wasp says, thank goodness he's gone. Oh, of all the nasty, hateful, unpleasant people I've ever met. She's forgetting all about how Spider-Man helped them fight Egghead and his minions. And Giant Man hasn't forgotten. He says, he's a handy lad to have around in a pinch, honey. It's unfortunate that spiders and wasps are natural enemies. And so we leave our two partners in peril watching the departure of the amazing Spider-Man, little dreaming that fate has a still stranger adventure in store for them and for you next issue. We'll see you then. Well, what is next for Giant Man and the Wasp? Do you want a sneak peek? Well, look who's up next for Giant Man. It's the Incredible Hulk. All right, so we're going to say goodbye to Spider-Man. He's glad he's not fighting Giant Man anymore, and he's especially glad he doesn't have to fight the Hulk. but we'll see what happens in this great battle when we get together next time. All right? Are y'all enjoying Giant Man and the Wasp? I hope so. We'll have at least one more of their adventures to read. See you then. Bye bye.